on the story. It's a classic tale of true love and high adventure that should be shared. It is a tale of friends and lovers, of family and fantasy, of giants and pirates, and in this case, a tale told by an idiot. When I was your age, television was called television. Because it wasn't that long ago that I was your age, but I was a sick kid, very sick. A bad belly, weak legs. I was terrible at sports, but I tried. I played t-ball once. I cracked the ball as hard as I could and ran as fast as I could to third base. I played hockey for a day until Jimmy Nagel checked me into the boards, which is totally illegal in Pee Wee hockey. I laid on the ice for 3 seconds and then took off my cousin Leo's used football helmet and skated off the ice. I was the only kid in Southie with a hate-on for sports. So I spent a lot of time alone. And one day, I found a videotape. VHS cassette. Some of you probably don't even know what that is. But on the label in smudged red ink, it read, Guiding Light and the Princess Bride. So I put it in the VCR, and after fast forwarding through several episodes of my Auntie Evie's stories, the feature presentation began and I was hooked. The minute the grandpa cracked that book, I wanted it. I needed it. I had to have that book because, after all, it's a very special book. It's the book my father used to read to me when I was sick, and I used to read it to your father. Today, I'm gonna read it to you. The Princess Bride. By S. Morgan Stern. Chapter 1. Oh, well, thank you very much. It's very nice of you. Your vote of confidence is overwhelming. Buttercup lived on a small farm in the country of Florida. Her favorite pastimes were riding a horse and tormenting the young farm boy that worked there. His name was Wesley, but she never called him that. Isn't that a wonderful beginning? This book has everything. Fencing, fighting, torture, revenge, chases, escapes, giants, monsters, true love, miracles, and little Fred Savage. That sick little turd is being all flippant with his grandfather, Columbo? Not where I'm from. Nothing gave Buttercup as much pleasure as ordering Wesley around. As you wish was all he ever said to her. One day, Buttercup was amazed to discover that when he was saying, as you wish, what he meant was, I love you. And even more amazing was the day she realized she truly loved him back. Now, this bit about as you wish scarred me for life. I'd be at my locker in middle school, and some girl with a scrunchie in her hair wearing 3 different color pair of neon socks would walk up and ask me to carry her books, and I would be all, as you wish. And then I'd steam past her all nervous, get to her desk before she would, then I would awkwardly await her arrival, while all the other kids in the class would stare at me. Brack, what are you doing in here? And I'd be like, mind your business, Timmy Jacoby. And then David Sullivan, the most stereotyped New England prepubescent schoolyard bully, came up and smacked all the books out of my hand. This total punk. And I scrambled to pick up the books, but it was too late. He had my book, the book, this book. Buttercup? Are you friggin' serious, Brack? A fairy tale? More like a faggot tale. Buttercup Brack. What a friggin' retard. You're such a queer. And that was that. Buttercup Brack was born. So I picked up all the books and mustered up all the dignity that a 6th grader with a chronic pooping problem could muster, and gave the books back to Candy, or Nicole, whatever her name was. But as I gave her the books, I said, sorry. Why did I say that? Maybe I inconvenienced her in some way, but I did. I said sorry. And as she walked away, I whispered, as you wish. A little heartbroken. Now, I didn't really say it, not out loud. My life is not a movie. But I did think it. I just wanted that first true love smooch.
Ew, is this a kissing book?
Keep your shirt on, let me read. Wesley had no money for marriage, so he packed his few belongings and left the farm to seek his fortune across the sea. As he said his goodbyes, Wesley held Buttercup and reassured her that he would always come for her. And when she questioned how he could be sure, Wesley replied, this is true love. Do you think this happens every day? Wesley didn't reach his destination. His ship was attacked by the dread pirate Roberts, who never left captives alive. When Buttercup got the news that Wesley was murdered, she went into her room and shut the door. And for days, she neither slept nor ate. 4 years and 11 months later, the country of Florin, a small country situated between Germany and Sweden, was filled as never before to hear the announcement from their great junior monarch, Prince Humperdinck. My people, a month from now, our country will have its 500th anniversary. On that sundown, I shall marry a lady who was once a commoner like yourselves. But perhaps you will not find her common now. Would you like to meet her? My people, the Princess Buttercup. That's right. Humperdinck goes for Buttercup. Ooh. Now, the law of the land gave him the right to choose his bride, even though she did not love him, and this was 5 years after Wesley had been killed by pirates. If they were a modern-day Hollywood power couple, what would they be called?
Brangelina.
Butterdink? Or Humpercup? Imagine 5 years of that. Poor Buttercup. The only joy she found was on her daily ride, but not on this day. On this day, she was abducted on her daily ride. Rumor had it that it was warriors of Gilda, the country across the sea, the sworn enemy of Florin. Gilda and Florin had a long history of aggression between them. Previous conflicts included the Olive War, the tuna fish discrepancy, and the Roman Rift. But Gilda was not to blame. It was actually the dastardly work of a Sicilian hunchback named Vicini, a Turkish giant named Fezzik, and a Spanish-named Italian-sounding Jewish swordsman. Hello! My name is Mandy Patinkin. But I get ahead of myself. So, Vicini, Fezzik, and Inigo Montoya, 3 lost circus performers, kidnapped the princess. Vicini's plan included leaving her body dead on the Gilda frontier. He was hired to help start a war. That is a prestigious line of work with a long and glorious tradition. But Fezzik and Inigo didn't think it was right. Murdering an innocent girl? Am I going mad? Or does the word think escape your lips? You were not hired for your brains, you hippopotamic landmass. What happens to her is truly no concern of yours. I will kill her. And remember this. Never forget this. When I found you, you were so slobbering drunk, you couldn't buy brandy. And you! Friendless, brainless, helpless, hopeless. Do you want me to send you back to where you were? Unemployed in Greenland? So, Fezzik and Inigo prepped their ship for the voyage across the sea. that Vicini, he does fast.
Fast. I think he'll have to scream adas.
Certainly he means no harm.
He's really very short on charm.
You have a great gift for rhyme.
Yes, some of the time.
Fezzik, are the rocks ahead?
If they are, we'll all be dead.
No more rhymes now, I mean it.
Anybody want a peanut?
As evening settled in, the thieving threesome felt a lingering presence. Fezzik kept a quiet watch. Inigo paced the ship back and forth. He was certain someone was following them. Vicini thought otherwise. As I have told you, it would be absolutely, totally, and in all other ways, inconceivable. No one in Gilder knows what we've done, and no one in Florin could have gotten here so fast. Out of curiosity, why do you ask? Buttercup seized the moment. She jumped off the ship and swam away. Vicini ordered his henchmen into the icy ocean after their fleeing treasure. Inigo doesn't swim, and Fezzik,
I only don't paddle.
in certain circles, it is commonly known that the channel of Gilder is home to the vicious, shrieking eels. However, it is also known that Florin Channel is the mating ground for the vicious, shrieking shark. In other circles, it is not commonly known at all that Vicini was an expert in the migration patterns and mating calls of local aquatic life. Do you know what that sound is, Highness? Those are the shrieking eels. Don't believe me? Just wait. They always grow louder when they're about to feed on human flesh. You swim back now. I promise. No harm will come to you. I doubt you'll get such an offer from the eels. She doesn't get eaten by the eels at this time. The eel doesn't get her. I'm telling you because you look nervous. Because I could stop now if you'd like. So do you know what that sound is, Highness? Those are the shriek. Wait, I already did that. Sorry, wait. Oh my goodness, where was I? Shrieking eel. So she was in the water. The eel was coming after her. The eel was about to charge her, and then, boom! Fezzik slugs the eel. And then he pulls Buttercup from the jaws of peril and throws her on the deck. The giant Turk rebinds the princess while Inigo looks to the rear starboard side of the ship. Someone is following us. Well, whoever he is, he's too late. See? The cliffs of insanity! Hurry up! Only Fezzik is strong enough to go up our way. So, Vicini, Inigo, and Buttercup are all strapped to the giant, and Fezzik begins to climb the cliffs of insanity. Meanwhile, the trailing vessel banks against Vicini's ship, and a man in black bounds across both decks and grabs hold of the rope that Fezzik is climbing at that moment. Vicini looks down in disbelief. Inconceivable. You were supposed to be this colossus. You were this great legendary thing, and yet he gains.
Well, I'm carrying 3 people. He's not only himself,
I do not accept excuses. I'm just gonna have to find myself a new giant, that's all.
Oh, don't say that, Vincini. Please.
Did I make it clear that your job is at stake? Now, the cliffs of insanity here are not at all as I pictured them in my mind as a young child. We didn't play in the woods. Well, the closest thing we had was the Boston Common. And there's no tree climbing in the projects. But I did have a cliff. Several, actually. I had my Uncle Cliff, my cousin Cliffy, and Cliff Clavin from Cheers. So, in my young mind, the cliffs of insanity with 3 drunk guys almost as big as Fezzik, all named Cliff. But it was not to be. These cliffs of insanity were actually a sheer rock face that dove straight, perfect, vertical into the channel of Gilder. Was Fezzik the only one strong enough to make it to the top? He didn't fall! Inconceivable! You keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means. Well, whoever he is, he's obviously seen us with the princess and must therefore die. You carry her. You catch him when he's dead. If he falls, fine. If not, the sword. So Fezzik picked up Buttercup, threw her over his shoulder, and headed off toward the Gilda frontier, with Vicini leading the way. Inigo approached the ledge of the cliff to assess this man in black. Hello there! Slow going? Look, I don't mean to be rude, but this is not as easy as it looks, so I'd appreciate it if you wouldn't distract me. I don't suppose you could have speed things up. Look, if you're in such a hurry, you could lower a rope or a tree branch or find something useful to do. I could do that. In fact, I've got some rope up here, but I do not think you would accept my help, since I'm only waiting around to kill you. But I promise I will not kill you until you reach the top. I could give you my word as a Spaniard. No good. I've known too many Spaniards. I swear on the soul of my father, Domingo Montoya, you will reach the top alive. Inigo threw him the rope and helped the man in black up to safety. My father was slaughtered by a 6-fingered man. There was a great sword maker, my father. When a 6-fingered man appeared and requested a special sword, my father took the job. The greatest sword since Excalibur. You have never seen its sequel. The 6-fingered man returned and demanded at 1/10 his promised price. My father refused. The nobleman of what country I could not recognize wanted to haggle over coin. He called my father a peasant and a fool. Domingo looked to the nobleman and said, "You are an enemy of art, and I pity your ignorance." They were the last words he ever uttered. Without another word, the 6-fingered man stabbed him through the heart. I love my father, so naturally, I challenged his murderer to a duel. I failed. The 6-fingered man leave me alive, but he leave me this. I was 10 years old. When I was strong enough, I dedicated my life to the study of fencing, so the next time we meet, I will not fail. I will look to the 6-fingered man and say, "Hello. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die." But I cannot find him. It's been 20 years. I'm starting to lose confidence. Ah, you ready then? You seem a decent fellow. I hate to kill you. You seem a decent fellow. I hate to die. The Man in Black and Inigo Montoya steeled themselves for battle. Inigo flashed a smile and then said, "Begin." Not exactly dueling, not strictly fencing, but more like dancing. But it was without a doubt the most dazzling sword fight ever written about in contemporary literature. You're using Bonetti's defense against me, ah? Rocco Bonetti, a Blackfriars fencing master, was hated for his two-handed style. A fitting style considering the rocky terrain. Naturally, one would counterattack with Capoferro. Capoferro, the term given to the powerful lunging style named after Italian sword master Rodolfo Capoferro. Again, naturally, one would counterattack with Tybalt. Not Tybalt of Romeo and Juliet, but rather Tybalt Danvers, a Dutch fencing master that used geometry and logic to aid in his sword defense. Tybalt would indeed cancel out Capoferro unless the enemy had studied his Agrippa, which Inigo had. Agrippa wrote the treatise on the science of arms with philosophical dialogue. He made short work of the short sword and became a master at closing the distance. The Man in Black's knowledge of the blade more than impressed Inigo. "You are wonderful!" Why are you smiling? Because I know something you don't know. I am not left-handed. You're amazing. But there's something I ought to tell you. I'm not left-handed either. The Man in Black had bested Inigo. Inigo was crushed. "Please, kill me quickly. I would as soon destroy a Da Vinci as an artist like yourself. However, since I can't have you following me either, the Man in Black pommel strikes Inigo on the back of the head, knocking him out. Please understand, I hold you in the highest respect." The Man in Black sheathed his sword and was hot on Vicini's trail. Vicini held Buttercup over his shoulder because he didn't want to wake her up. He thought she might be asleep. Being kidnapped must be hard work. So the gentle giant took a pause and waited for his boss Vicini to catch up. Fezzik loved being in nature. He felt the gentle breeze on his face. He loved being with the animals because they never looked twice at him. See, being big was always a problem for Fezzik. He was squeezed into a tiny cradle. He ate at a tiny table. He was always banging his head on doorways and low-hanging rafters. I mean, they never made anything for big people, so Fezzik quite literally never fit in. You know, not for nothing, fitting in is a strange concept. I mean, I understand wanting to fit into a jacket or an automobile, but like fitting in to be cool? Just don't get it. I certainly never fit in. I remember one time in junior high, I went to go watch a football game. And there was this girl that I liked, her name was Jillian. She had strawberry blonde hair that she always wore in a side ponytail. She had dark chocolate eyes, and I could not believe that a pizza-faced nerd like myself was sitting next to her in front of everybody. And then, as if my own geek body had realized it was wrong for me to be sitting in a different social class, my stomach began to churn and groan, and I could feel this deep heat building in my gut. Jill obviously heard the bubbling and looked at me and said, "Oh, Joey, are you okay?" I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe, I couldn't talk, but I tried. I took in the shallowest of breaths just to try to whisper, "Oh yeah, I'm fine." It was a mistake. As soon as my diaphragm drew in that shallowest of breath, my entire abdomen shuddered, and that deep heat that had been building in my gut escaped to fill my pants. I was mortified, and Jill was looking at me like, I don't even know, I couldn't stand her to look at me anymore, so I took off my jacket, tied it around my waist, and made the long walk home. Years later, I'd be diagnosed with Crohn's disease, which I still deal with pretty regularly, but none of that was my fault, you understand? You know? If only I'd realized that back then, that pooping your pants just happens sometimes. As long as I'm not making a regular habit out of it, it's no big deal. I should have looked into Jill's deep chocolate eyes and said, yeah, I just crapped my Z Cavaricis. I'm gonna go home and change my drawers. I'll meet you at the Burger King after the game, Jill. But instead, I sloshed home 12 city blocks on a crisp autumn day with my trousers full of quickly cooling poop. No fitting in with luggage like that. But the only people that want you to fit in, really, are bullies. Bullies like Vicini. Finish him! Finish him your way!
Oh, good. Thank you, Vincini. Wait, which way's my way?
Pick up one of the rocks, get behind the boulder. In a few minutes, the man in black will be coming round the bend. The minute his head is in view, hit it with the rock!
My way's not very sportsy. I did it on purpose. I didn't have to miss. Now we face each other as God intended. Sportsmanlike. No tricks, no weapons. Skill against skill alone.
Frankly, I think the odds are slightly in your favor at hand fighting.
It's not my fault being the biggest and the strongest. I don't even exercise.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Gilder Coliseum and Goldman Sports Limited, I'd like to welcome you to today's championship bout. Let's get ready to pummel! In the red corner, the challenger, a man weighing in at an unknown weight, an unattainable height, and a measure of unknown depths, the man in black! Wait, look, are you just fiddling around with me or what? And in the blue corner, your champion, standing at 7 feet 4 inches tall, weighing in at 475 pounds, with a reach of 91 inches, the 8th wonder of the world, Fezzik, the Giant!
Why do you wear a mask? Were you burned by acid or something like that?
Oh no, I just think they're terribly comfortable. Think everyone will be wearing them in the future, don't you?
Look, I think I figured out why you give me so much trouble.
Why is that? Do you think?
Well, it's been so long since I fought just one person. I've been fighting gangs, groups of people for local charities, that kind of thing.
Why should that make such a difference?
Well, you see, you use different moves when you're fighting half a dozen people. Then when you only have to be worried about one.
1, 2, 3. And in an upset victory, the challenger, the man in black. I do not envy envy the headache you will have when you awake. But in the meantime, rest well and dream of large women. Two down, one to go. The man in black raced to the top of a grassy hill. Upon the hill was a small picnic setup. Wines, cheeses, breads. Vicini sat with a knife to Buttercup's throat. The man in black slowly approached. So, it is down to you, and it is down to me. I can't compete with you physically, and you're no match for my brains. Let me put it to you this way. You ever heard of Plato, Aristotle, Socrates? Morons. Well, in that case, I challenge you to a battle of wits. For the princess? To the death? I accept! So Vicini poured the wine. As the man in black took a seat across from him, Vicini's opponent produced a small packet and handed it to the Sicilian. Inhale this, but do not touch. What you cannot smell is called iocane powder. It is odorless, tasteless, dissolves instantly in liquid, and is among the more deadly of poisons known to man. All right, where's the poison? The battle of wits has begun. It ends when you decide, and we both drink, and we find out who is right and who is dead. But it's so simple. All I have to do is divine what I know from you. Are you the sort of man who will put the poison into his own goblet or into his enemy's? Now, a clever man would put the poison into his own goblet because he knows only a great fool would reach for what he was given. I am not a great fool, so I can clearly not choose the wine in front of you. But you must have known I was not a great fool. You would have counted on it, so I can clearly not choose the wine in front of me. You've beaten my giant, which means you're exceptionally strong. So you could have put the poison into your own goblet, trusting on your strength to save you, so I can clearly not choose the wine in front of you. But you've also bested my Spaniard, which means you must have studied. And in studying, you would have learned that man is mortal, so you would put the poison as far from yourself as possible, so I can clearly not choose the wine in front of me. You're trying to trick me into giving away something. It won't work. It has worked. You've given everything away. I know where the poison is, and I choose. What in the world could that be? Oh, well, I could have sworn I saw something. No matter. What's so funny? Nothing. I'll tell you in a minute. First, let's drink. Me from my glass, and you from yours. You guessed wrong. You only think I guessed wrong. That's what's so funny. I switched glasses when your pack was turned, you fool. You fell victim to one of the classic blunders. The most famous is never get involved in a land war in Asia, which is only slightly less well known as this. Never go in against a Sicilian when death is on the line. So, one would assume that all along, the man in black's cup was poisoned. Not so. Apparently, they were both poisoned. The man in black had spent the last several years building up an immunity to iocane powder. Why didn't he just pretend to drink it? Building up an immunity to one of the deadlier poisons known to man? That's tough to swallow. Prince Humperdinck was hard at work. He was using his superior abilities as a tracker to stalk his prey across the top of the Cliffs of Insanity! There was a mighty duel arranged all over. They were both masters. The loser ran off alone, and the winner followed those footprints toward Gilda. Clearly, this was all planned by warriors of Gilda. We must all be ready for whatever lies ahead. Ah, but could this all be a trap? I always think everything is a trap, which is why I'm still alive. So the prince jumped off of the little rock formation he was proclaiming from and landed on his horse. Crotch first. Humperdinck and his men were off to their next destination, a small clearing with some boulders and a few cannonball-sized rocks. The prince knelt down and felt the ground's lingering heat. Someone has beaten a giant. There will be great suffering in Gilda if she dies. Again, Humperdinck and his men were off to their next destination. They came upon a tiny picnic spread with a dead hunchback. I okayed. I bet my life on it. And there are the princess's footprints. She is alive, or was an hour ago. If she is otherwise when I find her, I shall be very put out. High atop the ridge of a deep ravine, the man in black led Buttercup by the wrist. He forced her to the ground, and she begged him. She pleaded, she promised him any ransom that he wanted, he would get it. What is that worth? The promise of a woman. You're very funny, Highness. Do you think your dearest love will save you? Do you admit to me you do not love your fiancé? Does he know you do not love him, or that you are not capable of love? I have loved more deeply than a killer like yourself could ever dream. Oh! That was a warning, Highness. Next time my hand flies on its own where I come from, there are penalties when a woman lies. From that one instance of cruelty, Buttercup knew that the man in black was actually the dread pirate Roberts. She demanded he admit it, and he did so with pride. And she wished him a long, slow, painful death, cut into 1,000 pieces, because he murdered her love, a farm boy, poor and perfect, with eyes like the sea after the storm. And on the high sea, the pirate attacked, and the dread pirate Roberts never takes prisoners. Well, I can't afford to make exceptions. Once word leaks out that pirates gone soft, people begin to disobey you, and it's nothing but work all the time. You mock my pain! Life is pain, Highness! Anyone who says otherwise is selling something. I remember this farm boy of yours, I think. This would be, what, 5 years ago? Does it bother you to hear? He died well, that should please you. No bribe attempts or blubbering. He simply said, please. Please, I need to live. And I asked him what was so important for him. He said, true love. Then he went on to describe a girl of surpassing beauty and faithfulness. I can only assume he meant you. You should thank me for destroying him before he found out what you really are. Now tell me truly, when you found out he was dead, did you get engaged to your prince the same hour, or did you wait a whole week out of respect for the dead? At that very moment, Prince Humperdinck and his men broke over the crest of the ridge, and as they did, the enraged princess made her way toward the pirate. You mocked me once! Never do it again! I died that day, and you can die too for all I care! And with every fiber of anger in her being, she threw her delicate frame against the pirate's back, knocking him off his feet and sending him deep into the ravine. And as he fell deeper and deeper into the depths, she faintly heard him say, as you wish. Oh, my sweet Wesley, what have I done? And as she leaned into her truest love's words, she also lost her footing and tumbled into the ravine after him, head over heels, as it were. The lovers were reunited at the bottom of the ravine. Wesley came to his love. He scooped her up and stroked her hair and said, can you move at all? Move, You're alive. If you want, I could fly. But I thought you were dead. Death cannot stop true love. All it can do is delay it a little while. And then Wesley took his love and kissed her for the first time in 5 years. All right, I get it. It's kissing again, and you don't want to hear it, but one day you might not mind so much. All right, I will humor you. Wesley took Buttercup by the hand, and they raced along the ravine floor. Humperdinck, still mounted, surveyed the ridge. Disappeared. I must have seen us closing in, which might account in their panicking for error. And unless I am wrong, and I am never wrong, they're headed dead into the fire swamp. Buttercup begged Wesley not to take them into that deadly and treacherous place. Oh, Wesley will never survive. Nonsense. You're only saying that because no one ever has. It's actually not that bad. I mean, I'm not saying I'd like to build a summer home here, but the trees are actually quite lovely. Singed a bit, were you? Well, one thing I will say, the fire swamp certainly does keep you on your toes. This will all soon be but a happy memory. You see, Robert's ship Revenge is anchored at the far end. And I, as you know, am Robert's. I myself am often surprised at life's little quirks. You see, what I told you about saying please was true. And it intrigued Roberts, as did my description of your beauty. And then it happened. Robert said to me, all right, Wesley, I've never had a valet. You can try it for tonight. I'll most likely kill you in the morning. 3 years he said that. Good night, Wesley. Good work. Rest well. I'll most likely kill you in the morning. It was a fine time for me. I was learning defense, fight, anything anyone would teach me. And Roberts and I eventually became friends. And then, Roberts had decided something. He had grown so rich that he wanted to retire. So he called me into his cabin and told me a secret. I am not the dread pirate Roberts, he said. My name is Ryan. I inherited the ship just as you will inherit it from me. The man I inherited from was not the real dread pirate Roberts either. His name was Cumberbund. The real dread pirate Roberts had been retired 15 years and living like a king in Patagonia. Then he explained. The name was the important thing for inspiring the necessary fear. You see, no one would surrender to the dread pirate Wesley. So he took the ship ashore and took on an entirely new crew. And he stayed aboard all the while calling me Roberts. Once the crew believed, he left the ship, and I've been Roberts ever since. Except that now that we're together, I shall retire and hand the name over to someone else. Is everything clear to you? What was clear to me as a 10-year-old boy watching this movie was it was the greatest thing I had ever seen! And then, Buttercup stepped into and quickly sank into a huge pit of lightning sand. But in the book, it is called snow sand. Here is what Morgenstern has to say about it. Lightning sand versus snow sand. Snow sand is usually, again, incorrectly identified with lightning sand. Nothing could be less accurate. Lightning sand is moist and basically destroys by drowning. Snow sand is as powdery as anything short of talcum and destroys by suffocation. So, by virtue of its physical consistency in the film, I think she fell into snow sand and not lightning sand. Either way, we could not recreate a sand pit for me to fall into right now. We ran into this sort of technical snafu early in our rehearsal process. Like the shrieking eels. How are we going to do that? A puppet? No. A sock puppet? Tried it, didn't like it, looked lame, didn't want it. I like our shrieking eels because they live in your mind. They certainly live in your mind. So, Buttercup falls into some lightning, snow, sand, and she's down there for a while. How long? Wesley's down there for 30 seconds. He cuts down a vine and dives in after her head first. He's down there 30 seconds. Buttercup, 42 seconds. I timed it, I know. 42 seconds doesn't sound that long, right? We're totally doing it right now. Here's what's about to happen. You're all gonna raise one hand with me. We're all gonna take a big, deep breath together, and at the end, we will see who's a Wesley and who's a Buttercup. Here's the thing. I ask you to raise your hand because if you have to take a breath, I encourage it. Please don't pass out. You just have to put your hand down. That's it. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Hands in the air. Very good. Deep breath. Rodents of unusual size, I don't believe they exist. Unusual size. So, if this is the best we could do for the ROUSs, now try to imagine what that shrieking eel puppet would look like.
Fatality.
This is so stupid. You guys gonna do the ROUSs? Oh yeah, we're doing it. So, the lovers made it, free and clear through the fire swamp. And they gazed into each other's eyes longingly, almost overcome with fatigue. And as they left the forest glen, the persistent Prince Humperdinck emerged from the woods. Surrender! Wesley pulled Buttercup close and drew his blade. You mean you wish to surrender to me? Very well, I accept. I give you full marks for bravery. Don't make yourself a fool. For the last time, surrender! Death first! Buttercup's wheels were turning. She looked to the woods for any means of escape, and when she did, she saw men. Archers and foot soldiers, all trained on Wesley. Buttercup stepped between her love and her groom and said, "If we surrender, and I return with you, do you promise to return this man to his ship?" "I swear it will be done." Then Humperdinck left the couple for a moment to speak with his unusually handed right-hand man, Count Tyrone Rugen. Rugen was the prince's best friend. The two were very close. Probably closer than any other two men in all of Florida or Gilder. Once we're out of sight, take him back to Florida and throw him in the pit of despair. I swear it will be done. Come, sir. We must get you to your ship. We are men of action. Lies do not become us. You have 6 fingers on your right hand. Someone was looking for you. Count Rugen drew his sword and smacked Wesley on the back of the head with it, knocking him out. Where am I?
The pit. The pit of despair. Don't even think about trying to escape. The chains are far too thick. The only way in and out is a secret. Only the Count, the Prince, and I know how to get in and out.
So, it's to be torture then? I can cope with torture.
Well, you survived the fire swamp. You must be very brave. But no one withstands the machine.
The machine, which is in the pit of despair, which is in the zoo of death. At least I think it is. Because you see, the pit of despair, which is featured in the film, is not mentioned in the book. And the zoo of death, which is in the book, is not in the film at all. So I'm now going to tell you about the zoo of death. It's an underground dungeon located in the most remote corner of the castle grounds, consisting of 5 levels. Each level featured a particular type of creature to test certain abilities. The first level contained creatures of speed, such as the wild dog, cheetahs, and hummingbirds. The second level featured creatures of strength, like the anacondas, rhino, and crocodiles. The third level was poisonous animals, including spitting cobras, jumping spiders, and death bats! The fourth level contained the enemies of fear, such as the blood eagle, the sucking squid, and the shrieking tarantula. Again with the shrieking Morgenstern. The fifth level was empty, in hopes of a creature as dangerous and as powerful as the prince himself. Prince Humperdinck was a freak, and he was soon to wed. My father's final words were, "Love her as I loved her, and there will be joy. I present to you your queen, the Queen Buttercup." Buttercup emerged from the palace in her wedding dress and veil. She was expecting to be showered with praise and adoration, but instead, a lone voice rang out from the back of the crowd. An ancient hag booed her new queen. Boo! Boo! For shame! You had true love and you gave it up. True love saved her in the fire swamp and she treated it like garbage. And that's what she is, the Queen of Refuse. So bow down if you like. Bow down to the Queen of Slime, the Queen of Filth, the Queen of Putrescence. Boo! Boo! Rubbish, filth, slime, muck. Boo! Boo! Buttercup awoke with a jolt. She was covered in sweat. It was 10 days till the wedding, and the king still lived. But Buttercup's nightmares were growing worse. She climbed out of bed and made her way to the prince's chamber. She couldn't do it. She couldn't marry another, not while her Wesley still lived. She opened the door and said to Prince Humperdinck, she loved Wesley, she always had, and she knew now, she always would. And if he insisted that she marry him in 10 days, she would certainly be dead by morning. Humperdinck looked into the princess's eyes and said, "I could never cause you grief. Consider our wedding off. This Wesley has been returned to his ship. We shall simply alert him. But, beloved, Are you certain he still wants you? After all, it was you who did the leading in the fire swamp, not to mention pirates are not known to be men of their words. I suggest a deal. You write 4 copies of a letter. I'll send my 4 faster ships, 1 in each direction. The Dread Pirate Roberts is always close to the Florida this time of year. We shall simply run up the white flag and deliver your message. If Wesley wants you, bless you both. If not, please consider me as an alternative to suicide. Buttercup felt creepily reassured. Maybe the prince did care for her after all. So she curtsied to him and continued to her bedchambers. A few minutes later, there was a knock at the prince's chamber door. It was Count Rugen. Are you coming down into the pit? Wesley's got his strength back. I'm starting him on the machine tonight. Tyrone, you know how much I love watching you work. I've got my country's 500th anniversary to plan, my wedding to arrange, my wife to murder, and Gilda to frame for it. I'm swamped. Well, get some rest. If you haven't got your health, you haven't got anything. Beautiful, isn't it? It took me half a lifetime to invent it. I'm sure you've discovered my deep and abiding interest in pain. At present, I'm writing the definitive work on the subject. So I want you to be totally honest on how the machine makes you feel. This being our first try, I'll use the lowest setting first. The concept of the suction pump is centuries old, and really that's all this is. But instead of sucking water, I'm sucking life. I've just sucked 1 year of your life away. I may one day go as high as 5, but I'm not sure what that would do to you, so let's just start with what we have. What did this do to you? And remember, this is for posterity, so please, be honest. How do you feel? Interesting. The next day, Prince Humperdinck met with his chief enforcer, a man named Yellen, to discuss his plans to protect his bride on his wedding day. As chief enforcer of all of Florida, I trust you with this secret. Killers from Gilda plan to infiltrate the thieves' forest and murder my bride on our wedding day. She will not be murdered. I want the thieves' forest emptied and every inhabitant arrested. Several of the thieves will resist. Our regular enforcers will be inadequate, so form a brute squad. I want the thieves' forest emptied before my wedding. So, a brute squad was assembled and instructed, and the entire thieves' forest was cleared out. Not one soul lingered. Well, one soul. A terribly drunk and sad Inigo Montoya. I am waiting for you, Vicini. You always said, when a job went wrong, you go back to the beginning. And this is where we got the job, so it's the beginning. I am waiting for Vicini to come. At that moment, the largest brute Inigo ever saw came up and grabbed him by his shabby lapels and raised him to his feet. Inigo was not afraid. He looked at the brute and said, I am waiting for Vicini.
You truly are a meanie.
Fezzik slipped the hood off his head and revealed his gentle, smiling face. Inigo almost wept with joy. It's you!
True? You don't look so good. You don't smell so good either.
Perhaps not. but I feel fine. Fezzik and Inigo were reunited, and Fezzik took great care in reviving his inebriated friend. He told him of the death of Iceni and the existence of Count Rugen, the six-fingered man, his bride-to-be. My Dulcet darling, tonight we wed. Tomorrow my men will escort us to Florin Channel, where every ship in my armada awaits to escort us on our honeymoon. Every ship at your four fastest, you mean? Every ship but the four you sent. You didn't send the ships. Don't bother lying, my Wesley will come for me anyway.
You're a silly girl.
Yes, I am a silly girl for not having realized sooner that you were nothing but a coward with a heart full of fear.
I would not say such things if I were you.
Why not? You can't hurt me. Wesley and I are joined by the bonds of love. And you cannot track that, not with 1,000 bloodhounds. And you cannot break it, not with 1,000 swords. And when I say you are a coward, that is only because you're the slimiest weakling ever to crawl the earth.
I would not say such things if I were you.
You truly love each other? So you think you might have been truly happy? Not one couple in a century has the chance, no matter what the storybooks say.
So I think no man in a century will suffer as greatly as you will.
Oh no, not to 50.
Danger, Will Robinson, danger.
Fezzik, listen. Did you hear? That is the sound of ultimate suffering. My heart made that sound when Rugen slaughtered my father. The man in black makes it now. Ultimate suffering. What does that sound like? My heart made that sound. When I was 16, I thought I was breaking up with my high school sweetheart, a girl named Kelly. I broke up with her, it was my own fault, but I was devastated. So I watched The Princess Bride. Tears, snot, ugly crying. But I was a dramatic kid. Shocker. I'm the oldest of four. I have 3 little sisters, Jamie, Stacy, and Angela. Jamie and Stacy are twins, 2 years younger than me. Angela's the youngest, 1 year younger than the twins. My father was a contractor at the Boston Housing Authority since he was like 3. And my mother was a manicurist at my godmother Marie's beauty shop, The Custom Solution. I don't know why I'm talking to you like they're dead. They're fine. They're all still living in Dorchester. But after I broke up with Kelly, my whole family was pissed. And like a week after it happened, me and Jamie and Stacy got in this argument over God knows what. And Jamie swung at me, and then Stacy jumped too. So I grabbed Jamie by the back of her bum equipment sweatshirt and grabbed Stacy by the back of her turtleneck, and I held their foreheads against the dining room floor. And then, out of nowhere, Angela came down from upstairs, put one arm around my waist, and used her other arm to scoop my legs and drop me on my back on the floor. Totally knocking the wind out of me. And then my little sisters did what any younger sibling would do if you just whooped your older sibling's ass. They laughed at me. 2 seconds later, my father's van comes pulling in the driveway, so my sisters straighten themselves up and then do again what any little sibling would do. They looked at my father and said, "Oh, Pops, we love you so much, we're so glad you're home. Joey was being mean to us." And I'm laying on the floor, can't breathe, checking all my broken ribs. "Oh, Jesus, please don't take me yet, I'm too young." And then my father comes in the door, he looks at me, and he squats down. He talks real close. Ask anybody, my father is a really close talker. So he squats down and he says, "Your sisters kicked your ass?" "Come on, Joe. Save your crying for drama." Up to my room. So I went off to my room all high school and sad, but that wasn't ultimate suffering. And then 14 years later, my fiance left me. It was very unexpected. We had a significant age difference, and neither one of us was old enough to cope with it, so we lied to ourselves and each other. And to be honest, we're both better off for it in the long run, but I was devastated. So again, I watched The Princess Bride. Tears, snot, another ugly cry. But I wasn't really depressed because she left me. I was more mad because she beat me to the punch. It was like the rug of love had been ripped out from under me while I was carrying the goldfish bowl. No idea what that means. But that's still not ultimate suffering. And then, this past March, my grandmother passed away. And it was sort of sudden. She'd been sick for a while, but none of us were ready for her to go. She'd been sick for a while. She had oxygen tanks and tubes, the whole 9 yards. Once upon a time, she was smoking 4 packs of Winstons a day, emphysema. But that's not what killed her. And I honestly don't remember what killed her, because when they told me, I just went catatonic. But I just remember my mother's voice saying, "She's gone, Joey." And that was it. My grandmother and I were very, very close. I talked to her once a week on the phone. She was one of my best friends. She was just this old school Southie lady, Italian, hot ass. She loved everybody. She used to say things like, "Yous can be as mad at each other as you want, I don't care, but don't be mean to each other, I can't stand it." And I got all her recipes. Because she taught all 5 of her grandsons how to cook. And she taught us to cook because she used to also say things like, "Yous know girls are supposed to cook, but nowadays you're so lazy. And yous boys don't know your ass from your elbow. Your grandfather can't even make a bologna sandwich. Ain't that right, sire?" That was her. And, losing her, my grandmother Gloria, that for me was ultimate suffering. Because you can make up and break up, you can fall out of touch with each other, but death is forever. And you are dead a lot longer than you're alive. So, I watched The Princess Bride. Fezzik and Indigo stood in the pit of despair. They had jogged the albino's memory a little too hard. Indigo found the secret knot on an old oak tree that revealed the secret entrance, and they had made it. They survived all 5 levels of the Zoo of Death. But Wesley was dead. And as they looked down at his lifeless body, Indigo had an idea. "Have you got any money?"
I have a little, I think.
"I hope it's just enough to buy a miracle, that's all." Fezzik picked up Wesley's body, and they left, and headed out to Florence's great city square. They were looking for a small hut. There lived Miracle Max, a medicine man or miracle worker who used to work for the prince's father, King Lotharin. In the film, Max is played by Billy Crystal. Billy Crystal, I am not. "The king's stinking son fired me, and thank you so much for bringing up such a painful subject. While you're at it, why don't you give me a paper cut and pour the lemon juice in? Now beat it before I call the brute squad."
I'm on the brute squad.
You are the brute squad. And at first, Max doesn't want to take the job because he doesn't think it's such a noble cause, but he agrees to examine the mostly dead body of Wesley. He takes a bellows and puts it in Wesley's mouth. Slave, as everyone knows, means to bluff. So he basically accuses Wesley of cheating at cards. At that very moment, Valerie, Max's wife, bursts in the door. "Liar! Liar! Shut up, witch. I'm not a witch, I'm your wife. And what after you do
just said, I don't even know I want to be that anymore. You never had it so good. True love, he said, Max, true love.
So Inigo goes on to explain to Max that Wesley was indeed the true love of Princess Buttercup, who was about to marry Prince Humperdinck. So, if Max revives Wesley, Wesley will destroy the wedding, causing Humperdinck humiliations galore. And since true love is the greatest thing in the world, except for a nice MLT, a mutton, lettuce, and tomato, and the tomatoes nice and perky, and the mutton's so good. It's delicious. I love that. So Max took to 65 and was on the job. Valerie helped Max to make a miracle pill, which was coated in chocolate, because the chocolate coating makes it go down easier, but you have to wait 15 minutes for full potency, and you shouldn't go in swimming for what, at least an hour, a good hour. Inigo took the pill, Fezzik picked up Wesley, and the three were off. Have fun storming the castle. Do you think it'll work? It'd take a miracle. Bye-bye. Outside the castle gate, Inigo gives Wesley the miracle pill. Oh. I beat you both apart! I'll take you both together! Wesley sprang to life and had no idea where he was. So after Inigo summed up their situation, Wesley devised a plan to divert the 60 men at the gate and interrupt the wedding that was at that very moment beginning with a rather impressive clergyman. Marriage is what brings us together today. Marriage, that blessed arrangement, that dream within a dream. And love, true love, will find you forever. From outside the castle, a voice shook the land.
I am the Dread Pirate Walrus. I am here. My men are here. But soon you will not be here. All your worst nightmares are about to come true. The Dread Pirate Walrus is here for your sorrow.
Humperdinck looked to the impressive clergyman and said, skip to the end. The wedding was over, and Buttercup was dumbfounded. She was escorted to the honeymoon suite, and she decided that once she was alone, she was going to take her own life. Meanwhile, the Twin Pirate Walrus, which was actually Fezzik wrapped in a Holocaust cloak, lit on fire, standing in a wheelbarrow, being pushed by Inigo and Wesley, they ran into yelling at the gate, and they demanded the gate key. Give us the gate key. I have no gate key. Fezzik, take his arms off. Oh, you mean this gate key? Inigo took the key and unlocked the gate, while Fezzik lifted the massive portcullis. And he picked up the still paralyzed Wesley. As Inigo crossed the threshold of the gate, he was face to face with the six-fingered man, Count Tyrone Rugen, his father's murderer. Inigo drew his sword, took in his deepest of breaths, and prayed. Father, I have failed you these 20 years. Now our misery can end. Guide my sword. Hello. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. Count Rugen met Inigo's steely gaze, but instead of drawing his sword and taking his on guard, he ran in the opposite direction. He zigzagged down corridors and darted through doorways. Finally, he pushed a massive wooden door shut and bolted it, locking Inigo out behind him. Inigo was in a panic. He's getting away from me, Fezzik, please! The Turk put down Wesley, tried to make sure he was comfortable, and then rushed to his friend's aid. He pushed Inigo aside and knocked the door down with one fell blow. Inigo darted in after the Count. Fezzik went to go pick up Wesley. He even made up a rhyme to remember his path.
Right, then make a lefty. Do it in reverse and you'll find Wesley.
Admittedly not one of his best rhymes. But after taking a left and two rights, he returned and Wesley was gone. Count Rugen could hear Inigo gaining on him. He darted through a doorway and sprinted across the room. Then he drew a dagger from his boot. When Inigo entered the room, the Count sprang from behind a bookcase and flung the dagger, burying it deep in Inigo's belly. Ah! I'm sorry, Father. I tried. You must be that little Spanish brat I taught a lesson to all those years ago. Simply incredible. Have you been chasing me your whole life only to fail now? I think that's the worst thing I've ever heard. How marvelous. Inigo let the word Spanish brat reverberate in his ears. And all the hurting, all the struggling, all the overwhelming, all-encompassing spirit of vengeance boiled white-hot in Inigo's heart. He would be satisfied. He ripped the dagger loose from his gut and stuffed his fist into the bleeding. Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. Good heavens. Are you still trying to win? You've got an overdeveloped sense of vengeance. It's going to get you into trouble someday. Inigo let his spirit of vengeance fuel him as he rose to his feet. But the Count went in for the kill. The inverse Benetti. No chance. Hello. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. Inigo didn't want to think about what he was touching and holding into place. He just knew he had to make a move. For this one, he started right-handed. Hello. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. Stop saying that! The Count was beginning to feel a declining sense of nerve. Inigo flashed the six-fingered sword and a gash appeared on the left cheek of the six-fingered man. Offer me money. Yes, power too. Promise me that. All that I have and more. Please. Offer me anything I ask for. Anything you want. I want my father back, you son of a bitch. In certain translations of the Morgenstern, we are lovers of justice, you and I. You took my heart when I was 10. I want yours now. It was glorious. If you like that sort of thing. And Inigo loved it. But now what? With his spirit of vengeance satisfied, what does Inigo do? It's not like he can just go get a job at the palace. During his 20 years of studying sword play, he fell in love and wooed a young servant girl. One day, she admitted she loved him too, but she was actually a countess. They spent one beautiful evening together, and then Inigo left her to continue his training. What does a guy like that do when his entire life's mission is complete? Meanwhile, Buttercup made it to the honeymoon suite. She pulled out a dagger and held it to her sternum at an attempt at a very messy and painful suicide. The paralyzed Wesley interrupted her just in time. There's a shortage of perfect breasts in this world. It'd be a pity to damage yours. The lovers were reunited, and as they discussed the technicality of whether or not Humperdinck and Buttercup were actually married, Humperdinck entered the room with his sword drawn high. To the death! Wesley did not move. Now, to the pain. You keep your life, but life on my terms. I'll explain, and I'll use small words so that you'll be sure to understand, your hog-faced buffoon. To the pain means the first thing you lose will be your feet below the ankles. Next your hands at the wrist, then your nose. No smell of the dawn for you. Then your tongue, cut deeply out. The next thing you lose will be your left eye, followed by your right. And then my ears. I understand. Let's get on with it. Wrong! Your ears you keep, and I'll tell you why. So that every shriek of every child seeing your hideousness will be yours to cherish. Every babe that weeps at your approach, every woman that cries out, "Dear God, what is that thing?" will echo in your perfect ears. That is what the pain means. It means I leave you in anguish, wallowing in freakish misery forever. Humperdinck thought he was bluffing. It's possible, pig. I might be bluffing. It's conceivable, you miserable, vomitous mass. I'm only lying here because I lack the strength to stand. But then again, perhaps I have the strength after all. Drop your sword. Have a seat. At that moment, Buttercup grabbed all the curtain sashes and did what she could with tying up her husband. Just as she finished, Inigo darted into the room. Buttercup screamed for all the blood, but he ignored her. He was too worried. By this time, all the enforcers, all the brute squad, all the king's men were back in the palace. Certainly, Fezzik did not make it out alive. And just at that moment, from outside, in the princess's royal garden, they heard, "Inigo! Inigo, where are you?" Inigo approached the window, looked out to see Fezzik among 4 white horses.
Ah, there you are, Inigo. I saw the princess stable, and there they were, 4 white horses. And I thought, they are full of us, if we ever find a lady. Hello, lady! So I brought them with me, in case we ever bumped into each other. I guess we just did.
Fezzik had done something right.
But don't worry, I won't let it go to my head.
Wesley helped Buttercup to the window's ledge and she jumped down into Fezzik's awaiting arms. Inigo took a final look at Prince Humperdinck and said to Wesley, "You want I should dispatch him for you?" "Thank you, but no. Whatever happens to us, I want him to live a long life alone with his cowardice." It's very strange. I spent so much of my life in the revenge business. Now that it's over, I don't know what to do with the rest of my life. Have you ever considered piracy? You'd make a wonderful Dread Pirate Roberts. And with that, Wesley tumbled out the window, for his strength had not yet returned. Inigo followed, and the 4 rode off on the prince's 4 white horses. Now they ran into some trouble along the way. Inigo's wounds reopened, Wesley relapsed into paralysis, Fezzik took a wrong turn, and Buttercup's horse threw a shoe. But they made it. Now Humperdinck would try to track them down for the rest of their days, but for now, they were free. Now, just because they made it does not mean they had a happy ending. Maybe they squabbled a lot. Buttercup probably lost her looks eventually. Wesley's mead gut would grow larger and larger. And maybe some smart young pirate would swash Inigo's buckle. Fezzik would fall in love, marry, and then eventually find his wife with another giant. In what would have to be an enormous bed. Who knows? And I'm not saying this to make this a downer, you understand? But I do have to say that life isn't fair. It's just fairer than death is all. And all the pitfalls and obstacles of life are just that. obstacles until you overcome them. Or they kill you. And I do believe that true love is the greatest thing in the world. I myself just got married a few months ago. So I have my own real-life buttercup, and we watch The Princess Bride together. And as dawn arose, Wesley and Buttercup knew they were safe. They pledged their undying love to each other, and each swore they would outlive the other. They reached for each other, and as a wave of love swept over them, they... Oh, nope, never mind. It's kissing again, and I know you don't want to hear it. Do you?
Sure.
Just this once. Since the invention of the kiss, there have been 5 kisses that were rated the most passionate, the most pure, and this one left them all behind. The end. All right, well, that's it. I'd like to thank you very much for coming. You should go home and get some rest, maybe get some better AC. But if you want, you can come back another day and bring some friends, and I could read it to you again. As you wish.
So you guys just saw the show?
Just saw the show.
Are you familiar with the movie and all that stuff?
Yeah.
I'm familiar with the movie.
Yeah.
It's a
Okay.
great story, and he was amazing. Joe was absolutely amazing.
Always amazes me how he could do these one-man shows and remember everything and do that. And he was right to the book. It was beautiful. Did a great job.
And for one person, it was so many characters, and every character was such a character.
He portrayed it so beautifully.
So
yeah.
clearly, yeah. You always knew who it was.
Yeah. It was great. Yeah.
Great. Now, you guys have seen his stuff before?
I
Yes,
have not.
I have seen
Yeah.
it. Sanderland
Long time
Diaries
fan?
and oh yeah, long time fan.
Good. All right.
And it was so sentimental. It was very sweet, too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
That worked out so well. My daughter did so
Okay, good. Any chance I can talk to you guys real quick? You guys just saw.
We just
the
saw
show.
it.
Would you mind talking to me for just a second about what you thought of it?
Hold on 1 second. We're getting a photo.
No problem. Oops, sorry.
They said no. You all can speak.
Actually, you guys are fine.
Because I didn't even saw the movie.
I didn't either.
Me. I know.
You go.
Is it on?
I'm gonna get back.
She's good.
Sure.
I came because this movie holds a very special place in my heart. My father-daughter dance was actually storybook love, so it was wonderful to see this production and think about all the things that I thought about when I saw the picture when I was a little girl too. So, thank you, Joe.
What was your favorite part of the show?
Oh gosh, now the pressure of that. You know what?
Don't worry. If you don't like the answer, I'll just cut it later.
Hearing the song at the end, like I said, that was my father-daughter dance, so it meant a lot. Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh yeah, I would be glad to.
You like? Yeah. Why don't I give this one to you?
Okay.
Sorry to say.
How about you? Let's talk to you real quick.
Yeah.
Not like I don't already know you. What did you think of the show?
So that movie is the most quotable movie ever, The Princess Bride, and this guy just quoted the movie, and he was so true to the original. You know, he didn't. I mean, he went off on his own stories and how it affected his own life, but it wasn't. I mean, he didn't try to change it at all. I mean, he just quoted the movie, and it was so great.
What did you think about him including his own life anecdotes and his relationship with the movie?
Oh, it was really good because it kind of came home. You know, I've also been watching the movie since it came out. You know, I grew up. You know, I've seen it so many times. I think I could quote it as well as he, but I can't really.
So if you had to pick one part, what was your favorite scene or moment? You can pick a couple if you want. I'll just
Yeah.
pick one that sounds nice.
Okay. The fire swamp was amazing. His little special effects were very cool. The rats of unusual size, that was fun. And his story about his grandmother, and how he helped to deal with his loss by watching the movie. That was really sweet.
Great. So tell me about what you thought of the show.
I thought it was awesome. I cried about 4 times.
Can I get you guys to be quiet for a second?
I didn't cry a lot. I just kind of teared up the whole time, and I laughed a lot. And I'm from Boston, so I appreciated Joe's accent through the whole thing. I think he's brilliant. What is there, like 200 shows at Fringe? He's probably the only one I'm going to see. It was 11, and I think it was awesome.
Did you have a favorite part?
Did I have a favorite part?
Favorite scene or moment?
Yeah, I loved when he got a little meta, and he talked about the show, being in the show. Usually that's horrible, and but he made it really work, and it was really funny, and it made you really feel connected to it and the show.
Great. Anything else you want to say?
I once performed with Joe Brack, and it was incredible, and then watching it is incredible too.
Great.
Everything else.
Thanks.
Everything else good.
Here. All right, go for it.
I really like the movie, but I enjoyed this more.